On September 13th, 2023, in Rochester, New York, Attorney Bobbie Ann Cox and Senator George M. Borello of New York State appeared at the New York State Supreme Court Appellate Division to argue against Kathy Hochul's appeal for quarantine camps in New York State. While the courthouse was full and many protesters stood outside, the crowd seemed relatively small, considering the much larger threat that this quarantine camp law poses to New Yorkers' civil liberties. I mean, does anyone remember from history? World War II?
So here we are in front of the courthouse.
So the opening arguments were heard. Bobbie Ann went in with an entourage of cheering and came out with another entourage of cheering. We were able to get the actual case outside on our speakers. So those that could not get in, they only let 65 to 70 in because that's how many seats there are.
Okay.
So it was full of us, patriots, God-loving, fearing people. And then the rest of us were outside praying and praising and worshiping until they started the opening arguments. After that, she came out. She did an open conversation with us all.
Oh, she did.
Some interviews. There was Channel 8 here and a couple other ones.
I am so late.
They'll tell the truth, amen. From there, people are going to go start meeting up, in different locations. But the decision will not come out for a couple of months. So stay in prayer.
Yeah. Well, we need to do more than pray. We need to take some actions.
Absolutely. We need to keep showing up, and being bold. A lot of people don't know that this case even exists.
Yeah, right.
So when you walk into somebody and you're like, hey, I'm on my way to the court for the quarantine camp, they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, can you explain?
So they're hiding all of this truth from the people.
Yes.
On purpose. So the opening argument, I encourage you to go watch it.
Okay. It's going to be live streamed, right?
It was.
It's going to be
live streamed under NewYorkSupreme.com. What is this one?
The website for the courthouse?
Division,
Okay.
New York. So I'm assuming you could go back and re-watch it.
Okay,
But it was absolutely amazing. She did a wonderful job, of course.
Yeah.
So I encourage everyone to go to CoxLawyers.com and help fund her. She is doing this pro bono.
Oh.
Yeah, so she does have a lot of complainants, which is how she was able to bring this case to court.
Okay.
We won twice in court.
Okay.
This is the third time she's been in court. This is an appeal this time from Hochul. So they definitely are trying to push this through.
Yes.
There is no absolute in there on if you're sick. You don't even have to be proven sick. It doesn't even have to come from a physician. If they deem you sick, they can come to your door, take you, put you wherever they feel like, with no outcome on how to get out.
Yes, can you explain briefly for my listeners what this is about? It's a quarantine camp law, and my understanding is that Kathy Hochul wants to be able to have people come to your house and drag you out of your home.
Yes,
and
that is
thrown
also
into a
in there,
camp.
and you can actually look this up on the website. Exactly what this says. So we have a constitution, which is what we're using to fight back against this. There was already a law in place for quarantine camps for over 70 years. So what happened now is this AG comes in and he wants to change it and add his little twist to it. Okay, evil twist, by the way.
Yes.
Because it's true. If, let's just say, my kids are sick, or my grandkids are sick, or whatever, or even if they're not sick, if they don't show up for school, and they're like, oh, well, they must be sick, they can come to your house, take your kids from you, and if you do not do what they're asking you, they fine you on top of possibly pretty much arresting you and forcing you into these camps.
Right. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so it is a scary time we're living in, but stay in prayer, stay in faith, because we will be free. God will free us. Hallelujah.
Well,
we just got to stay in prayer and faith, knowing that He is in charge.
Well, I feel that we, the people, need to take charge, actually. I'm one of those people who believes, pray to the Lord, but row to the shore.
He uses us as His feet. That's why we're here.
Yes.
That's why Bobbie Ann is there. Just like God used David, just like He used Moses to free His people. He is using all of us. The Lord will lead you what stay in prayer. If you can't get out, or show out, be bold, share the truth with other people so people are awakened, because they want us asleep to all of what they're doing.
Yes, yeah. I just informed a friend about all this. Is there anything else you want to add?
I just want to say that God is in charge.
So it seems that Kathy Hochul is trying to prove that women can be dictators too, and that she's trying to get this quarantine camp law put in where she can have people taken from their homes and put in camps. Did you get inside to see the hearing, or?
I was outside. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to stay the whole time, but we did listen to it outside. My name is Marcus C. Williams. We're here today in front of the New York State Supreme Court, the Appellate Division, where we've come out today in support of the lawyer Bobbie Cox and Senator Borello, who are putting forth a very strong fight for our constitutional freedoms and our rights in New York State today. The reason why we are here is there is an internment camp regulation that Kathy Hochul is trying to force into our health regulations in New York State. And it's something that's very important that we push back and stand up against.
Do you know if this is happening in other states? I haven't heard anything, but I did hear that Washington State might have some sort of quarantine facilities. Have you heard anything?
So I have yet to hear of any health regulation or anything like that being out there, but I'm sure, like many of you guys listening, we've heard about camps all across the country being set up for one reason or another, or purposes that are unknown. Mm-hmm. So yes.
So do you think we're going to win this case? I know you heard it. You overheard the proceedings. What do you think? What do you think about it? Was your impression that you think we're going to win, or do you?
I believe that the judges asked some very good questions, and based on the questions that they asked, they sounded as though they were really concerned about the crafting of the actual regulations. And their job here at the state Supreme Court is to hold up the Constitution of both the state and the national Constitution of the United States of America. So I believe that if they do their job, which is to stand up for the state and the federal Constitution, that they will say that these regulations are unlawful, and they'll go by the previous court's decision to toss them out.
And do you know what the judges' names were, by any chance?
Unfortunately, I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but there were 5 judges.
There were 5 judges?
There were 5 judges, yes.
Oh. And then I'm sure Kathy Hochul didn't show up, did she? Was she?
Neither Kathy Hochul nor Letitia James were here. They sent their subordinates to speak on behalf of the case, which would exacerbate their powers and just give them untold ability that they should not have and do not have legally.
Right. I wonder why this is happening in New York State. I mean, I wonder why our state is being targeted. I know we were targeted after 9/11 as well. Do you have any thoughts on the Patriot Act?
Yes,
No?
Some very strong thoughts. No, but seriously, the Patriot Act is unlawful. It's unconstitutional, and there are many issues, not just with the Patriot Act, but with the concurrent Patriot Act 2 and other things like the National ID Card Act, which turned into these now, they're calling them, what are they calling the new IDs? The Real ID Act.
Yeah, the Real ID.
So there are a number of things that got implemented after 9/11 that were meant to strip away our liberties and freedoms bit by bit so people would not even notice it.
And what's interesting too to me is that the Republicans and the conservatives were passing the Patriot Act and those post 9/11 laws, and now it's the Democrats.
So a large portion is 2 things: fear and money. It's about who's lining whose pockets, and it's about how much fear and sensationalism can be created in society so that they can actually gain more power and control over you as an individual.
How did you find out about this? Because a lot of people don't know about it.
So for me, it started a couple years ago, maybe about 3 years now, with Assembly Bill A416,
Oh, yes.
which is the origin of this particular case. What happened is, and I'll give you a brief synopsis, A416 is a bill which would allow the government, and this is almost exactly how it's written, this is why it's so bad, that if you may possibly be considered to be someone who could have possibly come in contact with someone who is considered a possible threat to public health, that they can take you from wherever you are, your home, they can take your child or whatever, and they can intern you, and they can put you away wherever they want to in a facility of their particular choosing, constructed, or wherever they want to just place you. And this is something that would be done by the health director and by the people that Kathy Hochul appoints on the local level to be in charge of that stuff. They are not elected officials. They would completely be bureaucrats. So fortunately, we were able to get that struck from the state assembly. So that was pulled, thank the Lord. But then Kathy Hochul was like, no, I want to put internment camps in. I want to make it so we can lock everybody up. And she did that by pushing it through health regulations. When it was put in health regulations, thankfully the attorney Bobbie Cox stood up and pushed back, and she was able to get Assemblyman Teague and Assemblyman Chris Teague, Representative Matt Lawler, and Senator Borello as plaintiffs, along with Uniting New York, as plaintiffs in the case against Kathy Hochul's health regulations, because they legitimately allow them to intern you without any due process, and they wouldn't have to provide you with a lawyer unless they so decided later on that they wanted to. And that wouldn't just be for you, it'd be for anybody else too. And that was a very big issue, and there's a long list of the different diseases that they could do for that. However, many of those diseases were not communicable. So that means you can't transfer it to another person. So it starts to make you wonder and start to think. The other concern about that is, as we saw, the governor of New Mexico did a emergency health crisis and suspended the Second Amendment. So, and she said that any type of health regulations can be stated as an emergency and they can get rid of the Constitution. And this is very concerning because this is what we're seeing here in New York with this specific case. This is limiting your ability to actually have representation, and they could just snatch you up off the street or out your house. And it's more concerning because not only did it not go through the state legislature like it was supposed to, these are the people that are being put in place and we have authority over it are non-elected bureaucrats, and that is a very serious problem, and they only respond to Kathy Hochul, who is the governor, and that means that you have no say locally, you have no say in your county, and you have no say in your region if this were to happen. And that's why it's important that so many people came out today and they stood up and they were speaking up against what was going on, because we need more people to understand what's really going on. If you say, oh, the governor's bringing back internment camps, nonsense, that's not happening. But we are literally standing here in front of the New York State Supreme Court Appellate Division today because our governor of New York State, Governor Kathy Hochul, wants to bring in internment camps. We have to stand up and we have to speak up. But more than that, I encourage all of you that are hearing this message to tell other people, inform other people, and inform yourself more so that you can let people know what's going on and that you can start uniting together, because this isn't a political issue. This is a constitutional issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is not a Republican issue. It is an American issue, and we have to unite together, no matter what flavor of your party, so that we can stand up for our rights, liberties, and freedoms. I'd encourage everybody to research what's going on here at this court, to pay attention to things that are going on the state level, but also on the local level. Get informed and start uniting with other people. And it's not about what party or whatever your affiliation is. This is about American liberties and American freedoms. It's about your constitutional rights and liberties and freedoms. what is happening today, will impact us for generations. So this is why it's so important that we unite and stand up now. One thing that's the most important that I would leave you guys with is make sure that you don't fear, because they want to get you to fear and they want to put you into a sense of despair. Do not despair. Remember, there are more concerned citizens than there are bureaucrats. There are more concerned citizens than there are elected officials. And it's up to us to tell the elected officials and the bureaucrats the way that we want our lives to be, what we see as the public rights. And they are not supposed to be the arbiters of all to us. They are supposed to be our representatives. They represent us, so it is up to us to hold them accountable. And with that, I leave you with this. Stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You be blessed and be well.
It's all just a terrible lie. Euthanasia gone wild. Baby killers. Baby killers. Baby killers. Slimy, gooey, evildoers.